Welcome, ladies and gents. We've had the sprint race for the Miami Grand Prix, and what a race it ended up being in the end when it eventually got going. What is it with the F1 and FIA getting these race starts going? It was just so slow. The weather conditions looked like they were almost dry. We did lead to dry tyres in the end. They took that long getting the cars on track. Yes, visibility initially looked bad, but they've driven in a lot worse. These are the 20 best drivers in the world, and we've got wet tyres that just sat there. I don't know why they even carry these around to any... I've lost count of how many times I've said this. Every time there's a wet race, they start on inters and say, oh, it's too slippery or it's this or that. You've got wet tyres, use them. What is the point in Pirelli carrying them around the world if they're just going to stay in the blankets and every time you need them, you just watch behind the safety car or it's a red flag? Absolutely infuriates the hell out of me. And Charles Leclerc could have done with some of them wet tyres. He went out on the inters on the lap to the grid, not even the formation lap, dropped it massively. And let's hope he can get the car fixed for qualifying. They'd have to wait for the race to finish basically because of the time that crashed to recover that car back to the garage so they can start work on it. So and then obviously we've got the overrun of the sprint race, and that means a shorter gap to qualifying now. Yeah, let's see what happens on that front, because that was absolutely incredible. Charles Leclerc dropped it straight off the beginning. And we got the formation left, then the red flag, and then we eventually got going. And when we did get going, what a brilliant start from Oscar Piastri. He did absolutely the right thing, put it right on the inside. Looks like he did push Kimi Antonelli off track. Didn't get any penalty for this, because the way the rules say is that he was the person doing the overtaking, Antonelli doing the defending, and it's very odd that you end up on them sort of ways around at turn one especially, but it's the way it worked out. And then from there on, the race settled down pretty much, didn't we? We got the racing action between Ocon and Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz was kicking himself because he passed him twice, but just didn't make it stick. Ocon got a really good drive out of the corner in the first incident, and then the second time round, Carlos Sainz just braked too late, went too deep. Eventually, he hit the wall lap 13. Before that, though, we got lap 11, where we got Lewis Hamilton, Lance Stroll, and Yuki Tsunoda, who all pit for the softs, and they got the timing absolutely banged on because he came out absolutely flying, and because of that, Lewis Hamilton shot himself all the way up into P3. Massive gains from him. Lance Stroll in the end made up 9 places because of it, and Yuki Tsunoda 10 places, because what an absolutely brilliant call it was. They were absolutely struggling on the inters at that stage. They were going nowhere. Absolutely the right call. Max Verstappen came in lap 13. That collision with Kimi Antonelli just rubbed salt into the wounds of poor Kimi, because it wasn't going well for him at all at that stage. He couldn't pit, had to go one more lap around. Max Verstappen, rightly so, getting a 10-second penalty for that, although it should be a penalty for the team, but at that point it's because it's in the race and it's had like a sporting problem for Antonelli, rather than it being, something that the team should just pay a fine for later on. I think that it should be a driver's penalty. It's just harsh because it's not really Max's fault. The team let him out. But you got a 10-second penalty, and was that enough? Because Antonelli couldn't pit and had to do another lap around into the pits and lost way more than 10 seconds than the penalty that Max Verstappen got. It cost Verstappen plenty. He finished last in the end because of that penalty, because they finished behind the safety car. And disappointing from him. Carlos Sainz, another one. The car looked like it was good, going well. Could have benefited from this race, especially if they'd pitted at the right times. They didn't, and then hit the wall. And that was on the mediums at that stage, and he thought, could he have been flying through the field? He probably should have been. Disappointing from him on that one. Oscar Piastri pit on lap 14. Lando Norris carried on, which was interesting, and then you thought, well, it's probably the right call. Did they leave it a bit too safe? Because at that time they were looking at Lewis Hamilton absolutely flying. He had a great move on Max Verstappen to take it up into P3, and he was looking like he'd be close to the McLarens when they came into pit. Probably not too much. Well, he wasn't close to Piastri in the end. It was about 6-7 seconds. But with Lando Norris doing that extra lap on the Inters, he could have been really close behind him when he came out and gave him a little bit of fight for P2. And then the safety car came out because Fernando Alonso unfortunately dropped it when he was on his way for some points. It was, really disappointing from him. Looked like he could have been on, it was on P8, 7, 8, 8 at that time. So, really, really disappointing from him. Lap 15, big crash. And then why the heck did they not call it a red flag at that stage and we have a 3-lap race to the end? Have they not learned from Abu Dhabi 21? Clearly not, because we've seen it same time and again. Same mistake. We could have easily had a red flag, a 3-lap shootout to the end, because there was no way they were clearing Fernando Alonso's car before the end of the race. Whether it was just to do with the timings of the qualifying and the race being too close, that's not what you should be doing. It's not, you look at the race and the incident, it's not going to get cleared up. You've only got 3 laps to go. Call a red flag, let them all start, and we would have had a cracking 3-lap race and an end that we kind of deserved. But I guess everyone could have then changed tyres, and would have just seen a bit of procession, possibly, apart from, the initial start where someone could make a good move or not. Let's get to the 3 good and the 3 bad. Clearly the first one of that, Lewis Hamilton, P3, did not see that coming at all. A great call from him to call that stop at that time. If it wasn't for that, he'd finished way down, because he was struggling to keep Alex Albon behind at one point. It was nowhere looking forward at all. He just couldn't get the car to turn in. It's an issue that they've had, or he's had particularly, for quite some time. It was a lone Ferrari and a bit of a risky call, but at the end of the day, it looked like he was struggling. Could have at best popped home in 6th, maybe 7th place. So they went for the glory, and it, brilliantly pulled out a podium, P3 for him in the end. A really nice pass on Max Verstappen as well to get to that position. Didn't need it because of Max's penalty. Second of that, I'm going for Alex Albon with a P4 in the end. It was P5, but because of Verstappen's penalty, moves up. What a brilliant job from him and the Williams. Well deserved. It looked like points should have been on the cards for him. Last time it wasn't. This time they've looked strong in Miami so far, especially Alex Albon. It's just Carlos Sainz needs to get his act together in this race. He had a bit of a scruffy one, but Alex did an absolutely brilliant job bringing that home there. And the third of that, I'm going for Lance Stroll. He made up 9 places, up into P7 in the end, in the Aston Martin. Some points finally for them. They've been really struggling, and they need moments like this to capitalise, and he absolutely did that. On to the 3 bad. I'm going to start with the first of that, Kimi Antonelli, because it just couldn't have got any worse from a brilliant qualifying session. Lost out into turn 1. He probably should have backed off and then just followed Oscar through that corner and finished, or been second at least. Where he would have finished, who knows, with the safety car and the, Inters. He could have probably just risked it. If Lando Norris risked it and stayed out on the Inters, he would have won anyway, because the safety car came out and, they finished behind the safety car. Antonelli could have done exactly the same thing. So, who knows? We will never know the answer to that question, but really bad for that. And then obviously the Verstappen incident that I talked about, he couldn't pit and then had to pit a second time, and he went way back down, finished in 10th in the end. Really kicking the teeth from him. And the third of the 3 bad, I'm going for Fernando Alonso, because it looked like he was on for some points, much needed points. It's a shame he got tapped by Liam Lawson, spun him out, and it looked like, would have been a decent race for the Aston Martins if they could have got Stroll and Alonso into the points. There we go. Probably some penalties to come. Liam Lawson should get a penalty for that incident with Fernando Alonso still being investigated. Alex Albon also for a false start. Where were they investigating that one? They got Max Verstappen's over and done with on the grid very, very quickly, although he passed that yellow line. But we've seen before, you need to be at the edge of that front white line, and if there's some tyre overhang, you get away with it. We've seen that last year. Did they really close and clamp down on it? I've not really seen too many of that, but we've seen it last time out. Was it Norris that got the penalty for the jump start? If I believe myself rightly, I don't know. My brain's not working. But yeah, Max Verstappen got away with it. Alex Albon, false start investigation at the end of 18 laps. So I'm not sure what they were doing early doors. They seem to get Max Verstappen's wrapped up pretty quickly. Let's see what happens on that. It'll be a shame for him if he loses out on that P4, because he definitely will. Even with a 5-second penalty, he'll fall at least more than 3 places back, because the last 3 drivers were what, 3, 4, a couple of seconds behind each other, because if they finished under the safety car, and that would be a real kick in the teeth after some decent points for him. Not long to go was for the qualifying session, but what a cracking 14 laps when we finally got them. Miami brought the rain, and we've not seen rain there since forever, have we? It's always just assumed it was hot. It wasn't really on the radars for the weekend. If you look at my weekend preview, it looked like it was going to be hot this weekend. We got rain. It was brilliant. Let's see what happens for the qualifying for the main race. It should be cracking, but thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. As always, see you on the next one.